Welcome to another episode of Needing Unfiltered, presented by only the best vodka, Grey Goose, and Basketballnews.com. I'm your host, Kenyon Martin, and today we have a basketball Hall of Famer, a coach, a two-time Olympian, and an international motivational speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nancy Lieberman.
How are you, my friend? It's great to see you. You look
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Thanks for joining me.
You're a happy dad with your son getting drafted.
Oh, listen, I'm on cloud nine. I couldn't.
Isn't that kind of amazing?
Yeah, no, it's a great feeling. Childhood dream of his, and my oldest child dreams come true. Yeah, I'm ecstatic.
I know you're the interviewer, but as a mom to a dad, you're probably thrilled that Junior's going to be playing in Houston now instead of Sacramento.
Yeah, so it's and they Houston bought the pick. They really liked him. You know, he was still there at 52. They didn't think he was going to be there. So they made some moves to make it happen. So hey, hats off to the Rockets, and like I told Steven Silas, like you won't be disappointed.
I love it. So again, congrats and God bless him.
Thank you, and thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Yeah, so early life in Queens, from Queens, New York, huh?
Thug life. Just kind of, fighting for my territory, fighting for my space. A girl in the 60s and early 70s, as a minority, being told, stupid, dumb, never going to make anything of herself. Why are you in the schoolyard playing with the black guys? I got tired of being profiled, and I got tired of being bullied. So I was in a lot of street fights early on because they thought I was crazy.
Yeah, hey, listen, hey, that will bring it if people think that way. But nah, so you had to fight for your own. That made you into the kind of tough-nosed, gritty player that you were. I can say the same thing for myself, coming from the same kind of environment, having a lot of fights growing up, the same kind of thing, So maybe for different reasons, but being picked on and teased, and so I can definitely relate to that aspect of growing up in a rough area. But what inspired you to pick up a ball?
Well, my parents were getting divorced when I was 8 years old. There was a lot of fighting going on in my home. And so football was my first sport. I played in a tackle league at 7, 8 years old. Then I ended up playing baseball and with guys in my neighborhood, trying out for a PAL baseball team. And that was actually the first time I ever realized, people discriminating against me. I was the starting shortstop for our PAL Police Athletic League baseball team.
That's the main position on the field, Nancy.
I know, but I got there for the first game, and the coach felt horrible when he told me that they wouldn't let me play. They wouldn't insure me because I was a girl. I mean, can you imagine somebody saying, "Hey, we can't let you play because you're black," or people are stupid.
It's crazy. Yeah, definitely.
So I went right to basketball. There was a YMCA right in my neighborhood. And I went in and I asked the guy, I said, "Look, do you have basketball leagues?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Is it a boys league?" He says, "Yes." I said, "I want to play in the boys league. Will you let me?" And he goes, "Absolutely." That changed my life. I really wish I knew the gentleman, because he just allowed me the freedom to be who I was. And, so playing in those leagues and then going up at 11, 12, 13, 14 years old to Rucker Park.
Yeah.
And the guys kind of, looking at me like, "Are you lost?" I said, "No, are you?"
Yeah, let's get to that story. The first time at Rucker Park, like you walk up there, little white girl, like what were people like?
Well, it was kind of funny because, to be honest, we didn't have anything, but I had taken a couple of dollars from my mom's wallet without telling her. And I said, as I was running out, "I'll be at the park." Yeah. So she thought it was the park across the street. But I walked into town and I got on the A train. It's about a 50-minute ride, changed trains in Manhattan, and then got off on 155th and Malcolm X Boulevard. And it was cool because I had a jacket and I put T-shirts and the jackets, so I looked
Yeah.
bigger on the train. And I would just like glare at people, and they go back to looking at their newspaper or whatever they were doing. And this is a true story. So I keep asking people, where's Rucker Park? And they said, it's there. So I walk into the park and I have a ball. And these black guys are like, little girl, are you lost? Like I said, no, are you? And he said, do you know where you are? I said, yeah, I'm at Rucker Park. And they looked at me and I said to him, is your name Rucker? And he goes, no. I said, good, it ain't your park. I mean, that's a 12-year-old little fire engine, red hair, little Jewish.
I could only imagine the looks on their face.
But respect's respect. And they were so impressed that I was not afraid of them because I wasn't. And I just wanted to play. I needed them more than they needed me. I would play. They would walk me to the train, and really, this woman said to me, why are you with those three guys? And it was Ronald, Donald, and Gary, and they would ride the train back to Far Rockaway with me, walk me to my house. Everybody was looking through the curtains. And my mother, I didn't really know that I was teaching my mother not to be racist, not to profile people, just to kind of respect everybody.
Yeah.
Because she was like, what are you doing with them? I'm just like, Mom, they're my friends. How are they your friends? Oh, we won 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I was a little young and dumb, but it served me well. I was fine with that.
Yeah. And then, it was a blessing that there were those kind of people back then that didn't try anything, didn't try to harm you or things like that. They looked out for you, so that showed valuable lessons in life early on.
But they
I can
still
imagine growing up
do.
in the 60s, like in that era, and how black people were looked upon. You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine. And they were walking around with you. Lord knows what people were thinking. Like, I'm surprised somebody didn't call the cops. You know what I'm saying? Like, luckily, somebody didn't call the cops, and it could have been a whole bad situation when them trying to look out for you. But no, that's a blessing that they looked out. That's what's up.
It's funny that you just said that. I never even thought about that side of the equation because, we didn't have cell phones or texting or, emails at that time. So you actually, like, I would have to say, I'm coming on the 527 train.
Yeah.
You meet me at the train station. You had to like over communicate to each other. Yeah. And it was really kind of cool. And, to this day, I feel I'm actually grateful to the Black community for championing me, protecting me, not tolerating me, and allowing me to be a part of their world. And that's why I am the way I am today. You've been around me enough.
Yeah.
My son is like that. We have, as many Black and brown and Asian, and it doesn't matter who, friends.
Yeah.
We don't care.
The people.
Human beings.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. That's what matters. And just that you learned that early. You know what I'm saying? Like, and which is a blessing. It's a blessing in itself. So by the time that stage of going to Rucker Park, how often did you go? Like, was it pretty often? Like every weekend, every chance you got?
Playing in tournaments. It was really kind of cool because they would have some tournaments there, and then they started having tournaments for girls at Rucker. And we would win the tournament, my team. It was called the New York Chuckles. Remember Chuckles candy?
Yes.
It might be too young.
I've seen it.
Okay, so New York Chuckles, and we would win the championship, and then the MVP would have this like 6-foot trophy. I mean, it was unbelievable. All you wanted was a trophy. I was playing for the trophy every weekend, and I'd ride home on the train with this trophy that was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And it just, look, what I wasn't getting at home with love and attention, I got that from my people up at Rucker. And I played angry. I was always angry, whether it was the Olympics in high school, whether it was at Rucker, whether it was at Old Dominion. It was like, I was so tired of hearing people say to me, Nancy, you can't do this, Nancy.
Yeah.
The Nancy can't moments of my life do not put me and you in the same world.
Yeah.
So it was my job to show them what I could be, not what I couldn't be. When they said, well, you can't play up at Rucker with the boys. So I did. Yeah. When they said you couldn't make the Olympic team in high school, or, my junior year on the Pan Am, my senior year.
You're the youngest player ever to play in the Olympics.
Which is crazy. Yeah. And we won the silver. And then even going to college, I knew I couldn't go to college because we didn't have the money. I mean, my mom barely had money for food on the table. But when I had these scholarship offers, I was like, I want to go to the worst team. Like, I didn't go to UCLA and I didn't go to Cal State Fullerton, who were champions, at that point. I looked at all the schools and I had about 100 offers. And I said, I want to go to a school that has the worst record. And it was Old Dominion, was like 5-25. And, we ended up going 125-14 in my 4 years, go 23-9.
It's dominance, to say the least.
It was like everything that I do is about showing you what could happen, if you give me a chance, and winning back-to-back national championships in the NIT. And, I think my last 3 years, and I had great teammates, but I think we were 102-6 our last 3 years. So I was always trying to prove people wrong. And quite frankly,
let's go back a second. So let's 102-6.
My last 3 years.
Like,
that's crazy, right?
It's a lot of ass kicking, to be honest with you.
Well, there's a lot of ass kicking in practice. I mean,
Hey, you sound like me at Cincinnati, Nancy, FYI. Like, yeah, I put my hands on somebody every year when I was in school. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that to that part of it. Yeah, so it was definitely I could relate, but nah, that's dominance, and you to be that feisty and fiery and want to play against the best, not join them, but you wanted to beat them, and you going there to Old Dominion and I said something internally, like that desire and that will to go out and compete at the highest level, like that's speaks volumes for your character.
Can I ask you a question? How old are you?
I'm 42. I'll be 43 at the end of the month.
Happy early birthday. You don't know this, but I called your games for ESPN when you were in college. I called the game.
Oh, wow.
At your place, at least twice.
Okay.
That was the first time I had ever heard of you.
Probably was it my senior year or was it before that?
It might have been your junior, senior year.
Okay.
Whatever that last year before you left, you guys were pretty unbelievable.
That was my senior year.
Huggy was there, right?
Yeah, that's my guy. You could have played for Hugs. Like Hugs would love you. Like, you play hard, you feel like you don't need to be coached. Like, all he had to do is probably try to help you get better. Like you go out and you play the game, you're going to play the right way, you're going to compete. And if it pop off, then you hit smoke. So, listen.
Yeah. And I admired you then. Obviously, I admire you now and having friendship with you. But those are really powerful times for me because there weren't a lot of women calling men's games at that time. And that was a struggle. And I kept saying to the guy from one of the conferences who didn't want me to do a game, I kept saying, the ball doesn't know I'm a girl.
Not at all.
Dude, if I'm terrible, then fire my ass.
Yeah, if I'm bad at this job, then let it be bad at that job. Like, don't tell me I can't do this because I know the game just as well as the next man. So yeah, I'm with you. So
yeah, so I that was my first introduction to you and how hard you played and just your tenacity and your skill set.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
Sure.
It means a lot. So speaking of your game, how would your game translate in today's WNBA? Like how do you think you will fare?
So I was more athletic than people realized. Like at Rucker, I was 5'9" at that point, 5'8", 5'9", and I could dunk a tennis ball. And the joke was like the guys like Joey Hammond, who's a playground legend, and Arnold Duggar, who's no longer with us. They'd be like, they call me Fire because of my personality, and they're like, Fire, hang from the rim, and I would jump, and they're like, I told you she could jump, and I see him exchanging money.
Oh, that would have been.
I was like, did you just bet on me? And I was like the carnival monkey, you know, like Fire, jump, Fire, do this, Fire, pin the ball on the backboard.
Yeah.
So I was very athletic because I had only grown up playing against guys. So I played center in high school. And then as I started playing on the U.S. team, I started kind of morphing into small forward. And then at Old Dominion, I was a point guard. So I was that Magic Johnson, 5'10" strong point guard in 76, 77, 78. And now you see, you know, Taurasi, you see so many of these other players that are big that can handle the ball. Yeah. So I think because of my skill set and my passing, you know, obviously my nickname Lady Magic because of Irvin.
Of course.
And you know, the years that I played in the USBL, being able to put a ball right by like a guy's arm. Yeah. Because I had to find ways to compete against you. Yeah. In 1980, when I was getting ready to go to the first Women's Pro League, which brought me to Dallas Diamonds, I got asked by Dr. Buss and Jerry West to play for the Lakers. I don't know if you even knew that.
No, I didn't know that. So that's, So I'm going to have to get on whoever asked. They didn't put that in my notes. So I would definitely would have asked that question.
You know who my coach was? Pat Riley. Westhead was the head coach of the Lakers, but Riley came out of the TV booth to be the assistant coach, but they wanted to give him experience. So they put him, they let him do their summer league. Yeah. Well, I show up and Pat Riley is like, I don't want her. I told the guys this was serious. And they said, get her uniform, introduce her to her team. He goes, I don't want Nancy Lieberman on my team. And I show up at practice and, you know, Pat would have his traditional 3-hour practices at that time. And when he'd say, I need 5 guys out here, you know, to run a drill. And I was one of the 5. And the coaches were kind of looking at me like, who the hell is this girl? Yeah. And I was only 22. So I would run, I'd make a mistake. They'd coach me up. I'd get some repetition. I'd understand what he was looking for. I'd go off the court and I'd walk up to guys like you and go, hey, if you don't know how to run that, I do. So I'll be more than happy to help you. Yeah. And I'd pat him on the back. 4 days later, so after the first practice, apparently, and Pat told this to all the NBA coaches when I was coaching in the NBA, and I was sitting next to Nick Nurse, but I had an iPad, and he's telling this story, and he's like, right, Nancy? And I'm like, and Nick is like, you played for Pat Riley? I'm like, yeah. And so they get in the coaches meeting after the first practice, and Mike Tebow, who coaches, you know, in the WNBA with Washington, and he looks at Mike Tebow and he goes, who the hell does she think she is? She acts like she's the best player here. They beat the crap out of her. She didn't back down. And she tried to start 2 fistfights. Okay, 4 games later, I was the starting point guard for Pat. And we had an amazing summer.
Hey, so was Easy Run a part of the practice then? Like, had he implemented that drill yet?
No.
So this notorious, like, I hate Pat Riley. I love Pat Riley, but I hate him for this conditioning drill.
11-man break?
No, it's called Easy Run. Like, Byron Scott took it from Pat, and when he was the coach with us in New Jersey, he made us do this thing. It's called Easy Run. And as you can tell, there's nothing easy about it. If I'm talking, like, it's one of the worst drills I've ever done to date. Like,
was it the full court change direction?
No, you start free throw line extended, It's 2 lines, free throw line extended. They put time on the clock and they tell you to go. So each line you run forward, you get to the baseline, you defensive slide to the corner, you run backwards, you run defensive slide in, and you run and you do this shit for 25 minutes. And
oh gosh, no,
yeah,
we
no,
didn't do that.
yeah. So one of the worst drills I've ever done, like to date, college, pro, anything like for far as conditioning, the worst thing I've ever done. Yeah,
Maybe the best, right?
yeah, definitely. Like, so you played for the Globetrotters. You did a lot of different things, but how important was it for you to be part of the Phoenix Mercury the inaugural season of WNBA? Like, how important was that to you?
It was very important to me one, because I wanted my son, TJ, who you've met now, because he plays professionally. I wanted TJ to know what his mom did, because he only saw me doing TV and whatnot. And when I did the WNBA in 1997, he was 3 years old. And I was married, and I told Tim, I said, TJ, tell Daddy, Mommy's coming out of retirement. And he ran into the other room and he goes, Daddy, and Tim is 6'8", and he goes, Mommy's coming out of retirement and we're in trouble. And it was just one of those things. I didn't have the WNBA in my prime.
Yeah.
I played against guys like you. I played 2 years in the USBL. Against Tyrone Bowes, against Monique Bull, with Michael Ray Richardson and Jeff Houston and so many NBA guys. So on my best day, I was average because of your physical ability. I'd get by somebody, make a move, and then put the ball up and a 7-footer's blocking my shot. So I just wanted to have that moment to play and to have my name on the back of my uniform again. And I didn't know if that would ever happen, but I will say this, and this is another good one. In 1985, I got a phone call from David Stern. He had just become commissioner of the NBA, and he called me, said, would you come to New York? I'd like to talk to you. I couldn't believe the commissioner called me. So I go home to New York, and he closes the door at the NBA offices, and he says, Nancy, before I'm done being commissioner of the NBA, there will be a WNBA. And I was like, what? You're kidding. This is 1985. And he looks at me and he goes, my only hope is that you'll still be around to play in it. When you're 25 years old, like he was saying, if I'm around to play in it. And I was like, of course I'll be around to play in it. I didn't see myself as a 39 or 40-year-old.
Yeah.
And the day we played on opening night and Gladys Knight sang the national anthem, and here I was on the court. And I got a phone call that morning from David Stern, and he was visibly emotional on the call. And he goes, I didn't know if it would ever happen, but I'm so proud that you're on, the Mercury, a part of this team and league. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great moment. And for Dave to have that vision then, like, speaks volumes for him, and for him to want you to be a part of that even more, just for your work that you've done for the game and your path that you had taken playing against men and all of these other things, to get to that point, for him to want you to be a part of that is great. Like, I didn't know that, but that speaks volumes for David Stern. He's one of the best human beings I've met, as far as being straightforward, honest, and seeing what things should be. So no, that was great.
You're absolutely right. And as Adam Silver said, David Stern was more like Kobe Bryant than anybody he had been around. The Mamba mentality, that kill. And so at All-Star Weekend, commissioner is telling this story, and he says, well, first of all, David, he's going to be the first one to throw you into deep end, and you think you're drowning and you're bobbing and you're going down. And just before you think it's over, he sticks out his hand and pulls you back in.
Yeah.
And what a great teachable moment. He's going to make you work for it, but he's going to be the one to save you.
Yeah.
because he cares.
Yeah, because you're the one that told me early on in my career, I came in with that same mentality like I had in Cincinnati. Like I was still on it. Like anybody do anything, say anything, I'm quick to fight, swing, like all that. So David set me down in his office, like, listen, son, if you want to be a part of this league, you need to cut it out. Like, this is not the way we're going moving forward. So if you want to be a part of this, I suggest you cut it out. So
simple enough, right?
Yeah, that was my last fight. I had a few skirmishes, but nothing over the top. And a lot of people, like David saved a lot of people from ass whoopings during the game. They just don't know it. Like, because that would always play in the back of my mind. Like, all right, you want to be a part of this?
Well, everybody wants our job. I mean, everybody
definitely.
wants. I do the TV now, for the Pelicans. There's only 30 of those jobs, studio jobs in the world for the NBA. What we do in the big three, there's only 12 of those jobs in the world, and everybody wants our jobs. So we can't be just as good. We have to be better than even today. And as a friend once said to me a long time ago, you got to have the dog in you. If you don't have that dog, that was Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Who's my inseparable brother. We breathe the same air.
I'm with it.
I just adore him. But he said, Fancy. He calls me Fancy Leaves. And he goes, Fancy, we have to have that dog in us. And that's why he came back at 37. That's why I came back at 39 and at 50. Because it's weird, but I still had that dog in me.
Yeah.
When you lose that, that ability to really want something so bad, and for the people around you, step back.
Yeah, like a lot of people, it's funny that you bring up that dog. Like a lot of people, like athletes, like they miss that part of it, and to not see that in people who you respect, like, wow, like if they had any dog in them, how they could be. Like, so I get it. And for that to come from Prime, hey, that's
right.
Oh, Unc, you know what I'm saying? Unc tell the truth and tell it how it is. When he see greatness, he says it. So then that's awesome. It's been a year, and although the holiday season will look a bit different, we're still excited to celebrate the good with only the best vodka, Grey Goose. Grey Goose is making it easier than ever to enjoy a well-deserved cocktail. And a spoiler alert, you don't have to leave your house to make it. Visit greygoose.com in one click, and you have a Grey Goose Holiday Punch Cocktail Kit delivered to your door. The Grey Goose Holiday Punch Cocktail Kit comes with everything you'll need to make a holiday punch. Grey Goose vodka, pomegranate juice, sweetened black tea, martini and Rossi Prosecco, plus a dehydrated lemon wheel and fresh sage for your garnish. So impress your quarantine pod with your at-home bartending skills. You won't have to tell them how easy it was. Cheers. Sip responsibly. Imported by Grey Goose Import Company. Coral Gables, Florida. Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume. Distilled from French wheat. And let's talk about your coaching career. Like I know you moved on from playing, and now it was time for you to start coaching. You coached in the D League with the Mavericks, correct?
Yes.
How was that experience?
It was great. I give a lot of glory to Donnie Nelson, the president of the Dallas Mavericks, because in 2010 he bought their D League team, which is now the G League, the Legends, and it was a chance encounter. God doesn't make mistakes; things happen on time. Yeah. I'm putting a mail in a blue box at like 7 a.m. He's walking out of Starbucks in Plano off the tollway in Parker with Rolando Blackman. So I see Donnie, we say hi, and Ro, he's a Brooklyn guy. Yeah. And I said, hey, congrats on the team. Is Ro going to be the coach? And he just started talking, and he goes, sis, your number's still the same? I said, yeah. Donnie went home and sat with his daughter and said, has head coaching experience. has made the playoffs, has played in men's minor leagues. And he started going through a checklist of things that he would want in a coach. And he came out and he called me. We had like 4 or 5 meetings at like Starbucks. And he says, you know, maybe the best coach for my team is not a man at all. Maybe it's you. And I went, oh no, Donnie, you're going to get your behind kicked by the media, by people. He goes, Nancy, you've been doing this your whole life. And the most important box is you're not afraid. Yeah. I said, oh no, I'm not afraid. And so he hired me. And I remember asking him, what's the most important thing? Do you want to make money? Do you want to have a community involvement? What do you want the players to learn from that? Do you want us to win? Do you want to be in the black? Mm-hmm. He goes, yes. I said, you want everything? He goes, yes. I said, okay. And we ended up making the playoffs. We were an expansion team. The last day of the season, game 50, we were playing against the Toros, the Spurs. Wow. That morning, Popovich sent down Danny Green and he sent down one more player, Corey Joseph, Danny Green and Corey Joseph. We won in 2 overtimes, and we were down 9 points with 11 seconds to go at the end of regulation.
Wow.
9 points with 6 seconds to go. And we hit a shot. It might have been Rashad McCants hit a shot from the corner, and we tied it. It was an unbelievable game. It doesn't matter what level it is.
Yeah, no matter. Not yet. To have that dramatic comeback in that amount of time, yeah. No,
and so we go to double overtime. We tie it up. Justin Jetman hits a shot. Antonio Daniels, who's on my team, Joe Alexander. And then we go on to the third overtime, excuse me. And we ended up winning the game. Yeah. Donnie Nelson is an amazing person to work for. And I honestly believe that he planted the seed in Popovich and all these other people's head, because he didn't go one toe in with me. He went 2 feet in. Yeah. And I remember the night before my press conference, he texted me late in the night and he said, somebody at the G League they're telling us we can't hire you. And he says, sis, this is what Martin Luther King marched and died for: equality, opportunity, inclusion. He goes, I will be there with you at the press conference. And if they don't like it, I'll revoke my franchise. Oh, wow. I'll give it back. People don't know that about Donnie. And there's so many of us now who have been in the NBA or now the G League, coaching in the Big Three. But I believe Donnie Nelson deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, he does, for believing in you and for stepping out on the limb and taking that chance when, like he said, nobody else wanted that. And sure. To have someone believe in you and believe in the things that you've done, I can only imagine how they made you feel. I can hear it in your voice now, and I'm saying how it still means something that he took that chance, because he didn't have to.
Absolutely.
He really didn't have to. He could have listened to the masses and could have listened to all other people and been like, well, maybe this is the wrong decision. Like, nah, he stuck with it. He believed in it from the beginning when he sat down at home with his daughter, and they came up with a plan and they stuck with it. And hey, you got to respect that. You got to respect people that's that, and for you to be that person to open the door for women coaching in men's sports. That's huge. And it goes to when Popovich hired Becky Hammond, and it's been an ongoing trend since.
I think there's
for you to open that door. Yeah, that's huge.
It's, George Karl hired me the next year with Vlade. And as you know in life, and I say this to people who will say, oh yeah, I don't see color. I don't see that. I'm like, if you don't see color, go get LASIK. Okay. Because I see color every day. But don't say the politically correct thing. do you hire people? Like I had a neighbor here in where I live in Dallas. They had a Black Lives Matter in their little window when everything was happening.
Yeah.
And I walked, and maybe this is just me, but I walked up one day and I said, oh, Black Lives Matter. That's really great. Are you putting it there so people think, you're good human beings, or do you really care about Black lives?
Yeah.
I said, I don't actually have to put one of those in my window. I live every day for equality. And for, I have such a deep and long relationship with the Black community. And I said, you know what? Why don't you do this? Why don't you take your sign down, and why don't you just hire somebody that doesn't look like you? And
That
I
speaks
walked
more
away with,
volumes than the sign. Yeah, that speaks more volumes than the sign. Yeah.
hire somebody, and hire a woman, a woman of color who's on the lowest pay scale. Black women make between 58 and 68 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I
No,
don't know.
you can say it's bullshit. No, this free speech on here. It's called Unfiltered for a reason.
But that's how I really, really feel. And if you give somebody a job, whether they're Black or Latino or Hispanic or whatever, and they can't do the job or they don't do it well, you do have the right to cut me. You do have the right to let me go. But give people a chance. Diversity and inclusion, it's a word everybody's throwing around. For me, diversity means you're inviting me to the party.
Yeah.
Inclusion means you've asked me to dance. And I'm on your show because you asked me to dance.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you being here. Yeah, and it's not just like women coaching sports now. You have women reffing NBA, women reffing NFL. I'm not sure if there's women umpires yet. I'm not like 100% sure, but that's because you opened that door and people believed in you. And to other commissioners and other people around, like, well, maybe like they do know this sport, or maybe they can do this job, and not just looking at y'all as housewives or secretaries, or I'm saying things like that. Now that's like, I'm all for that. Like I'm really all for it. Yeah. No, it's just opportunities that you've helped people realize, and I'm in awe of that. I'm in awe of those things. Opening doors for other people like that.
But Kenyon, I have a motto: lift when you rise. When you get elevated to the next level, take somebody with you. It's so important. That's the only way it's going to happen. And I was lucky. I told you I was that poor kid, no food, no heat, no electricity. We were one grandparent away from food stamps in New York. But I fell in love with Muhammad Ali. I mean, when he said he was the greatest of all times, I would just melt. I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then by the grace of God, we win the championship at Old Dominion. And December of 79, I'm asked to go to the New York Stock Exchange for a fundraiser for the Olympic Committee.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm still full of crap, but I'm feeling good about myself. I'm hiding behind being Nancy Lieberman, the basketball player. And we're going up the escalator, and I have my mom and my best friend, Barbara, from high school. And I said to the guy, so who's the other athlete with me? And he goes, yeah, we're going in the green room now. I said, who's here? And the guy goes, Nancy, it's you and Muhammad Ali. I almost fell off the escalator.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that behind that door was Muhammad Ali. And the door opened, and it was like that Oprah moment.
That glowing.
my heart was banging, and my mother runs over to Muhammad, and I still have the picture. I'll show you one day of her putting her arm around his neck, going, Mr. Muhammad, hi, I'm Rini Lieberman from Queens, and my daughter is the greatest of all times. And he goes, lady, there's only one greatest of all time. It's me. No, Mr. Muhammad, I know you're good, but my daughter is greatest.
Yeah.
So he kind of calls me over. I'm telling you, truthfully, I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous. And he looks at me and he says, your mom says you're good. And I go, no, Mr. Muhammad, I'm not really good. And I go, I'm the greatest of all times. And he goes, there's two of us? Okay. That night, we go back to the Plaza Hotel. He asked if we'd come back to the hotel with him. I spent 2 hours of him teaching me about racism,
Yeah.
about racial injustice, about red line districts. I didn't even know what a red line district was.
Yeah.
About opportunity, diversity. And I was like, what? I mean, it was so over my head what he was saying. But he would tell me, he goes, you have to look at how the Black community feels. The day is light and white and it's safe, but at night it's dark and black and it's scary. I'm going to say this because he said it to me. He goes, in the cowboy movies, like the hero is with the white hat.
Yeah.
And the bad guy has the black hat. He goes, you've never probably thought about that, but that's filtered into how we feel about ourselves sometimes, that we're lesser. And he looked at me. I mean, I was 19, 20 years old. And he goes, Nancy, God made you special. And you're going to have a lot on your plate because you're going to have to carry a lot. And I was spinning because I didn't really know what he was saying to me.
You didn't understand that at the time. You said you was 22? Yeah.
Not me. No, I was 19, 20.
Oh, wow.
But he did say to me that there'll never be a day that he won't be in my life. To the day we buried him 4 years ago, June. Fast forward, here I am now, in my career coaching in the NBA. Second phone call I made in 2015 when Vlade called me to hire me. I called the Alis and I said, where's Muhammad? Lonnie, where's Muhammad? She goes, honey, what's wrong? He's here. I said, put him on speaker, please. I said, I just got hired to coach in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings. And she goes, oh, he's acting like he can shoot. And I go, he can't shoot. And they came to my first game 4 months later when we played the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting in a suite right behind our bench. And DeMarcus looks at Rondo and goes, why is the champ here? And Rondo goes, oh, that's coach's friend.
Yeah.
So, and here I'm at his house and I'm feeding him food and he's got a little bib on, because he has Parkinson's. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How would you know what happened in 79 and how things would be different in, 2012, 13, 14, 15, where I'm sitting with him, holding him, hugging him, and just telling him how much he means to me because he changed my life.
Yeah, that's deep. Like that's one of those relationships that, of course, sticks with you. But to have that conversation at such a young age with such a insightful person and all the things that he had been through for these causes, and for him to tell you that you special, that you're here for a reason, and you guys share a lot of the same qualities. You put other people first. You look at the bigger picture. You don't see race. You see people.
Yes.
So that's huge that he saw that in you, and for him to take the time out to sit you down and to build that rapport and that friendship with you that lasted literally a lifetime.
True.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like you've done some things, Nancy, and been in some people's lives and met people and opened so many doors. Like, how does that? How does it make you feel? Like to be the to be the bar, basically, of what people will try to accomplish in a lifetime. How does that make you feel?
For a long time, I was still, there's the hunter and then there's the hunted.
Yeah.
And I never, like, when people, and forgive me for this, when people, like, when I was in my 20s said I was, the best player in the world, which is crazy, right? And I never wanted to have that filter because I wanted to still be hunting somebody.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be at the top of the mountain, banging on my chest. I never let myself think like that. Like, I know I'm a pioneer. I understand that comes with sometimes age and, having a more longevity than people.
Yeah.
But I'm not jealous of Maya Moore. I'm not jealous of Tamika Catchings. I'm not jealous of Bird or Taurasi. I'm a fan. I want them to have everything. I want to see the first $1 million woman in the WNBA. Of course, my one and only year, I got 40 grand.
Yeah.
But somebody has to set the plate.
Yeah.
And we have such great gatekeepers of the game. Quite frankly, in men and women's basketball, I mean, look at Chris Paul, look at LeBron, look at Kawhi, look at Luka. I mean, the game is just in such great hands. We've got the best commissioner in sports. The relationship that he and Michelle Roberts have with the Players Association is so uniquely powerful. They respect each other. They protect who they're supposed to protect. But in the name of the game and growth and generational wealth,
Yeah.
they've worked so magnificently together. And, David Stern and Billy Hunter didn't have that type of relationship, as you well know.
Yeah. It's for different reasons, but
Yes. But basketball is important. It's very important around the world. And with social justice right now and reform, we got a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, it's still a lot of work to be done, but it's good that we got people on our side that believe in it and that's doing the right thing. And I think the NBA has took a major step forward in the sports world, but in the world of just moving forward. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Yeah, but just moving forward with it. So now it's huge for us to be a part of this family. The NBA family and the basketball community is great.
It is.
So you've been, like you said, around the Black community and doing a lot of different things that people have known you to do. Your charities that you have done throughout inner city communities and things like that, and you in particular, not particularly you, in my neighborhood where I grew up, and this is a sensitive topic for me because Dre was like my little brother. We all know that, and for you to donate a quarter, be a part of that with Regina, that melts me. For you to go back to somewhere where I'm from and to give back to someone who I had a great relationship with. I want to thank you personally for that, because growing up, like I tell people all the time, didn't nobody come back and do stuff until I was a certain age. Like I didn't see a white person do anything around us. And for you to do that in Dre's name and honor, like, means a lot to me and other people that's where I'm from, that I talk to a lot. So we want to thank you for that. Like, that means a lot.
Thank you for saying that. I think we share one heart when it comes to Andre Emmett.
Yeah.
And, we miss him dearly. I had 2 years with him. When I used to work at ESPN, they used to call me First Flight because I'd be on if it was 4 a.m, 5 a.m, just get me on that plane and get me to where I'm going. So I would take the first flight, and I did that in the Big Three. And Andre would tap me on my shoulder, and I looked at him one day and I said, "What are you doing up at this hour?" He goes, "Oh, I always take the first flight." And I was like, "You do?" And it's easy for me to say, "Oh, you're probably out hanging with friends. You're a young guy." But he was always on the first flight. We fly first class, and Andre and I would always ask people if they would change seats with us.
Yeah.
And so we could sit together. We talked, so everything was on the table: life, love, politics, tattoos, drugs, inner city, white, black, philosophy of life. We would sit there and talk about the deepest stuff that sometimes people won't even talk about because they're just afraid, somebody might, you might hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, and I'd be like, wow, I never thought about that. That, like, I'm really open-minded. Tell me more about, even tattoos, like, with your
Yeah.
tattoos. I have no tattoos,
Yeah.
maybe because I'm afraid to get a flu shot because I don't like that pain.
Yeah.
But I was like, I would sit there and I'd like, all right, pull your shirt, open up your shirt. He's like, Coach, I said, do what I say.
Yeah.
And what is that tattoo for? What does it mean? Why did you get it? Tell me about the ones on your fingers. And the one thing that I'm just so upset with Andre is that we never got to his left hand. He told me about every tattoo, his little children, his baby mamas. Andre Emmett was one of the most amazing young people that I've ever met. And our bond, when we'd land in a city and they would send the car for us, Andre would be like, no, we only need one car because we just wanted one more ride together and to talk. He was so deep. He was such a fascinating father, a great friend, hell of a basketball player. But we talk about Bobby Knight, and I'd call Bob and say, hey, I'm with, Andre. He goes, oh, that guy is one of the best players I've ever coached.
Yeah.
It touched everybody's life. And so on that Friday, remember we were getting ready to go to China, back in November and a year ago. And I had stem cell shot in my knee. And Andre called me. He goes, Coach, can you take me to the person who did your knee? And I said, yeah. And then he called me Saturday. And you guys are like the biggest babies, by the way. I love that about you. And he says, Coach, will you take me to the doctor with you? I said, do you want me to hold your hand too?
Yeah.
He goes, will you? I was on the treadmill working out when, I don't know if it was Thomas or somebody, Justin from the league said, it was 8 a.m. I was taking him at 11 to the doctor.
Yeah.
And Justin called me and he goes, Nancy, Andre Emmett died. And I was like, no, he didn't. I just talked to him Saturday. That's how screwed up I was.
Yeah.
And he goes, Nancy, can you just stop what you're doing? And I got off the treadmill and I go, what are you talking about? He goes, Andre was murdered. I couldn't stop bawling. I couldn't stop bawling. It's what a loss of a human being.
Yeah, for nothing.
For nothing.
For nothing, man. And same thing when I got the call. Of course, I got the call in the middle of the night. I got like first thing. Like it was unsettling. And for it to happen where you grow up and people they're supposed to care about you. You made it out. You know what I'm saying? You're successful. You did it the right way. You're a loving father. You're not out here doing what you could be doing. You're living your best life. You're having a great time. You're taking care of your responsibilities. And for jealousy and hate to come into that is fucked up. And for them to take my friend, my little brother, for nothing, but his legacy and his lives on. Thanks to you, the court, what he was made for. And Regina does a great job at always putting Dre out there and not letting people forget. And whatever we can do and whatever I can do for Dreams Really Exist, I told I'm there for, to keep Dre's memory and legacy alive. And you are definitely a part of that.
Oh, thank you again for saying that. And I'm really excited. We opened a second Andre Emmett court at Texas Tech about a month ago.
Yeah.
And with Coach Chris Beard. And, they're very kind, humble people who have a lot of gratitude and respect for Andre. So I was there with Regina and, Karen and the family.
Yeah.
But the thing for me that I'll always be left with is, like we're parents. And he loved Kennedy and Zara so much.
And that's why he was on the first flight. Like, that's why when he was going home, that's why he was on the first flight. Always.
just, it was an honor, actually, to do that. A no-brainer. And we talked about it. You know, Andre had come to Dream Ball, which I hope one day you'll come to my Dream Ball.
Of course.
In Dallas. And Andre was like, you know, Coach, I want to do something like this. This is what I want. I was like, we started small. You know, we've been blessed. We started small, but you can do it. And we talked about dream courts, and he goes, I want dream courts. That's why we did it. Yeah. Because it's what Andre wanted.
Yeah, and he had this little thing over in Oak Cliff at Glendale Park. You know what I'm saying? This little outing, back to school outing. You know, we're going to try to keep that going and things like that. But, yeah, man, it's a tragedy in itself, but he was a great person. He will not be forgotten. And on that note, Miss Nancy Lieberman, I would like to thank you for joining Eating Unfiltered. It's been a pleasure having you on. I've learned a lot about you that I didn't know, a lot of things that I did know. You inspired me to be better as a person. And I would just like to thank you for coming on. And this shall too continue our friendship, that is.
That would mean a lot to me for us to grow it. I think I have your cell, so just maybe text me it later, but I think I have it. Yeah. But be well. God bless you and your family. I'm so happy for Junior, and I can't wait to see him play and talk about him when I'm doing TV.
Yes, ma'am. You take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.